Hi, I'm Mike, and this is Bean, and today we're going to take you through the part 2 of the Freeze Miser videos. We're going to see how they worked over the last 72 hours here on the ranch. It's all coming up on Our Wyoming Life. Thank you. Oh, you're such a good puppy. Hi guys, welcome back as we continue to explore the ranch life and escape the ordinary. Today is part 2 of the Freeze Miser product review. Last week we ended up putting it all out. We talked about installation and the proof of concept behind the whole thing. But today we get to go and take a look and see exactly how this thing works. It's going to be a pretty quick video. We're going to go out, walk around, take a look at a few different hydrants where we had this thing set up, including a bonus one that I set up afterwards just to see how it would work in a different location. So well, I don't know where she went. Bean's around here somewhere. We're going to bring her along with us today as we go take a look and see how the Freeze Miser worked here on the ranch and see if it's a game changer. We'll find out. Bean, where'd you go? Hey, there you are. Bean, come on, let's go. All right, so last week we actually set this thing up in 2 different locations. One was on just a regular, where'd she go? Bean, come on, let's go. Anyway, we set it up in 2 different locations. One was just on a hydrant with a hose, and that was one of the applications that they talked about in the brochure. So we're gonna take a look and see how that one's working. Now I'm getting out a little bit later on in the day or the morning than I thought I was going to. We did have temperatures down into the 20s over the last 3 days that we've had these hydrants on, and now we get a chance to take a look and see what it looks like. As you can see, the Freeze Miser is not running right now. It's dripping just a little bit, keeping the water running here in this thing. This hydrant, like I said, has not been turned off for 3 days now. There is a little bit of ice buildup. You can see there was quite a bit more in the morning, early on in the morning. So it does kind of turn this whole area into an ice skating rink just a little bit. But the true test is when we actually see if this line is frozen. The hose obviously is not frozen. And look at that. It still works. So here's my thoughts on having it hooked up to a hydrant like this with a hose. Unless this hydrant has a habit of freezing, it's easier just to turn off the hydrant, right? You don't really need a Freeze Miser on this kind of application. This hydrant does not freeze. We don't normally worry about it freezing. So there's really no reason to have a setup like this. We would just hook up the hose and let it run. The only good thing about it is that obviously it keeps the hose from freezing while it's outside, which is nice, but the trade-off is that you do get a bunch of water and it does get really slick around here when it freezes down. So that's kind of up to you if you want to put up with the ice skating rink effect. That's something that is definitely a side effect of doing it this way. Now we're going to head down and take a look at that stock tank. The stock tank is where we set it up originally, and same setup as always. We actually set it up with a float, which is actually kind of nice if it works. Again, this thing is not running, but I did get a really quick video this morning earlier when I did come out and check things out. And it was running. It's still dripping just a little bit. But the interesting part is that it keeps the water from freezing right around where it's dripping. It's almost like a built-in tank heater, because we do have still quite a bit of ice on this, but it's not a solid ice. And I think that's because of the dripping that happens at night out of the Freeze Miser. And also, because the way it sits, obviously that water's running right back into the tank, which is a good thing, which is basically what we want. It's not creating any type of ice buildup. This ice out here is actually ice that I threw out of the tank that's sitting here on the ground. But I would say this is actually a pretty good success, especially because, you know, we got temperatures down into the 20s. We're expecting temperatures this week into the teens. So it'll be even further tested as we move along here. I did set up one more tank on this system using the freeze miser, so we're going to run over there and take a look at that one before we wrap things up, and I'll give you my final thoughts on what I think about this thing. We're going to head over to one more tank where we did get this thing set up and take a look and see how it worked over there. Now, the reason I did it on another tank is because this tank is actually for our empty cows right now. It's just a holding pen for them, but it is a little bit more protected of a tank. It doesn't get as much use. It tends to freeze a little bit harder in there. So we're gonna go take a look and see how that one fared overnight. So this tank sits in the shade a lot of the time. So that's why I decided to set this one up back here. It's gonna freeze. It's got a pretty good crust of ice on it. The other thing is that although the float is set way low, and about as low as I can get it, in fact, you can see it's completely underwater there. This one, the freeze miser, is still running. And of course, it looks like it's overflowing the tank, which is what it is doing. So what I'm gonna end up having to do with this is put an overflow on this tank that'll take this water and feed it somewhere else. Relatively easy fix, but you can see that it kind of kept the tank a little bit more open on that end where the freeze miser is. Down on this end, the ice is a lot thicker on this end. It's still got quite a bit of ice. Hey kiddo. So the freeze miser, obviously it's working. These tanks have, these stock tanks, the hydrants have not been turned off for more than 72 hours. In a normal situation, these things would be frozen solid at this point, actually doing very well with the freeze miser and making it work. Again, these are not sponsored videos. We are not getting a dime for these. I just wanted to test these to see how well they worked and how we could help other producers if this is a product that helps them. They cost $31 a piece at our local feed store. You can get them on Amazon for a little bit cheaper, but not much. And so far is so good. Everything seems to be working just fine. The hydrants stayed open. I am looking forward to putting them on some more hydrants, seeing how they work there, and trying to come up with a little bit better of a plumbing solution for them so that they drain a little bit better. That's going to be all coming up. I think this is going to be something that we're going to look at continually, at least one more time throughout this winter, and see if this is something that's going to make a big difference for the ranch. Because if we can save time and don't have to go out and mess with hydrants and filling tanks, and tanks are overflowing and putting out salt because we have ice and all this kind of stuff, if this saves us that time, then it's more than worth it. All right, I know this is a short video, but I wanted to make sure that I got you guys wrapped up on this whole thing and how things worked out for us. I know everybody's got something to do for Christmas coming up, whether it's wrapping presents or what you might be doing. Myself, I am actually working on our year-end video, which will come out on Wednesday. That video is our last video of the year before we return back in January. And that video is going to be a very special thank you to all of our subscribers, all of our Patreon supporters, everybody that gets the newsletter, all that kind of good stuff. This is a very special thank you video that's coming up here on Wednesday. So I want you to join me for that. Make sure you subscribe, hit the little bell button so you get notifications and don't miss a thing. Speaking of missing, hey Bean, Bean, where are you? Hey, come here, come here. It's time to say goodbye. Come here, come on. We gotta say goodbye. There she is. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time right here on Our Wyoming Life. Say bye. No.